Have you ever wondered how a single strange event in a hot, dusty land could change everything forever? My people, today I go tell you a true story from long, long time ago. A story of magic, bravery, and mystery in the early Hausa Kingdoms. Make sure you listen well, and if you like this story, don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. Long ago, before the modern world came with its tall buildings and bright lights, our ancestors lived in a land where the sun burned hard by day and the cold bit deep by night. In that unforgiving place, a legend was born in a town called Dora. They say that one day, a brave hunter, with a heart full of hope and a spirit of adventure, followed a strange cow that seemed to glow in the harsh sunlight. This cow led him to a secret waterhole hidden in the middle of the dry, cracked earth, a waterhole that the elders later called a gift from the gods. It was this miraculous discovery that sparked the beginning of a great kingdom. The people of Dora, full of wonder and courage, built their homes from mud and clay. Every brick and every wall they raised told the story of their struggle against a land that did not give up easily. Even though the days were long and hot, and the nights were dark and chilly, these early Hausa people learned to survive. They worked hard in the fields, dug wells to find water, and gathered in the cool shade under baobab trees to share stories of hope and warning. In those early days, life was not only about hard work. It was also filled with secrets and strange happenings. Under the light of the full moon, elders would sit around a small fire and tell tales of mysterious spirits that roamed the desert. They said these spirits were the voices of their ancestors, watchful, sometimes angry, but always near to help or to warn. Children would listen with wide eyes, learning that every rustle in the wind might be a sign from the past, and every shadow could hide a lesson in bravery. Even as the people learned to live, with these mysteries they soon discovered another kind of magic: trade. Across the endless dunes, brave men and women set out on long journeys with their camels and donkeys loaded with salt, cloth, and beads. They crossed dangerous lands and harsh storms to reach faraway markets where goods were exchanged and ideas were shared. These journeys, though risky, helped the Hausa Kingdoms grow rich and strong. The traders returned with not only fine wares, but also with stories of distant lands and new ways of life. As the kingdoms grew, the towns of Kano, Katsina, Gobir, and Zazao began to bloom like flowers in the desert. In these bustling cities, the narrow streets filled with the sounds of merchants haggling over prices and children laughing as they played in the dust. Here, call of the muezzin echoing from high minarets, mixed with the lively chatter of everyday life. It was a time when every day was a new adventure, a mix of joy, challenge, and even fear. You see, my people, the land was both a giver of life and a harsh master. There were days when the sun was so strong that the ground shimmered like a mirage, and nights when the cold made you shiver even if you were wrapped in cloth. But the Hausa people were tough. They learned to share water from their wells and to grow crops in the sandy soil. Their determination was like the deep roots of the baobab tree, strong and unyielding. One day, something unexpected came from the north. Travelers arrived, speaking of a new faith called Islam, a way of life that taught about one true God and a life of fairness and kindness. At first, many were puzzled by these strange ideas, but soon the wise and brave leaders saw the promise in this new belief. They decided to learn about Islam and blend its teachings with their own old ways. Even though the ancient stories of spirits and magic did not disappear, they mixed with the lessons of the new faith, making the culture of the Hausa even richer and more mysterious. But even as the people celebrated these new ideas, not everything was calm and peaceful. There were times when anger and jealousy would rise like a sudden storm over the desert. Rival kings and chieftains would gather their armies, their hearts full of pride and ambition, and set out to fight over lands, water, and control of trade routes. The battles were fierce and often very scary. Young warriors, sometimes barely men, faced danger with trembling hands and pounding hearts. The clash of swords and the cries of warriors filled the night air, and the cries of the fallen became a part of the land's sad song. In one such night, when the moon hid behind dark clouds and the wind seemed to whisper secrets of old, a brave young man stood on the wall of a mud-brick fort. His eyes were wide with fear, but his voice was steady as he led his people in prayer. They believed that the spirits of their ancestors were watching over them and that the courage in their hearts would protect them from the terrors of battle. Even as the enemy advanced, the young warrior's call rang out like a drumbeat, uniting the people in a single powerful hope. These battles, as frightening as they were, also taught the Hausa people important lessons. They learned that unity and trust were more powerful than any weapon. They discovered that even in the face of fear, a single brave act could light up the darkness like a torch in the night. And so, amid the sounds of war and the smell of dust and sweat, the spirit of the early Hausa Kingdoms grew stronger and more determined. Every market, every street corner, and every home had a story to tell. In the busy markets of Kano, merchants would share tales of close escapes from bandits on the desert roads. In the quiet alleys, elders whispered the legends of great kings and wise women whose decisions shaped the fate of their people. These stories were passed from one generation to the next, a living history that taught children about honor, courage, and the importance of remembering where they came from. Now, my people, listen closely. If this story touches your heart, please subscribe to our channel and share this tale with your friends. Your support helps us keep the spirit of our ancestors alive and our traditions strong. The early Hausa Kingdoms were not just about battles and bravery. They were also about learning and growing together. As the kingdoms grew, they became centers of education and art. In the courts of the kings, scholars gathered to study the secrets of the stars and the wisdom of old texts. Poets and musicians filled the evenings with songs that told of heroic deeds and the bittersweet beauty of life. Every word, every melody was a thread in the vast tapestry of history that our people are still weaving today. Life in those times was simple, but full of meaning. Every morning, as the sun broke over the horizon, the people rose with hope in their hearts. They worked side by side in the fields, tended to their animals, and shared the fruits of their labor. Even when hardship came, when the rains failed, or when a sudden illness swept through a village, they came together as one family, supporting each other with kindness and love. There were also times of deep mystery and wonder. When night fell and the stars came out, many would gather around a small fire to hear stories of old. They would speak of how the earth was once ruled by mighty beings, of how the winds carried messages from faraway lands, and of how every shadow had its own tale. Even the simplest story, told in a gentle voice, could send shivers down the spine and make the heart beat a little faster. These stories were not just entertainment. They were lessons in bravery, wisdom, and the understanding that life is full of both light and dark. I must tell you about the great caravan journeys, too. Imagine long lines of camels and donkeys moving slowly but surely across the endless desert. The traders carried bundles of salt, shiny beads, cloth, and spices that smelled of far-off lands. Every journey was an adventure, full of danger and excitement. Bandits sometimes tried to steal their precious cargo, and fierce sandstorms would rise without warning. Yet each caravan that made it safely to the market brought news, ideas, and treasures that enriched the Hausa Kingdoms. These journeys connected our people with others from distant lands, weaving a web of friendship and trade that still echoes today. Even as the kingdoms thrived through trade and art, nature remained a constant, unpredictable force. The desert, with its shifting sands and scorching heat, was both a friend and a foe. There were times when the wind would howl like a wild animal, and the people would huddle together for warmth and comfort. They learned to read the signs of the sky and the land, knowing that a sudden change in the breeze might bring a storm or a blessing. Every season, every change in the weather, was a reminder that nature was powerful and mysterious. And so it was that the early Hausa Kingdoms grew from small, humble beginnings into mighty states known far and wide. Their people learned to blend the old ways with the new, to mix mystery with reason, and to find strength in unity even in the darkest times. They built cities with winding streets and grand palaces, places where the call of the muezzin mingled with the laughter of children and the wisdom of elders. Throughout these long years, the legacy of the early Hausa Kingdoms was passed down, like a precious heirloom. Mothers would rock their babies to sleep while singing lullabies about brave hunters and magical waterholes. Fathers would recount the epic battles and the deep friendships forged in times of trial. Grandparents, with eyes full of memories, would whisper to the young ones about the spirits that guarded their ancestors, urging them to always be brave and true. In every village and town, whether near a bustling market or a quiet well, the people knew that their story was not over. It was written in the winds, the sands, and the songs that echoed through time. The struggles of the past taught them the value of each new day, and the lessons of courage and unity remained as strong as the ancient stones of their homes. Now, my dear listeners, let me ask you again. Do you feel the pulse of history in your veins? Do you hear the distant call of those who walked these lands long before us? If you do, then join us, subscribe to our channel, share your own stories, and keep the flame of our heritage burning bright.